I will never forget you saying to the jury while you had shown them her bruised face. And this is before the iPhone. I know people think about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing and they think Amber may have faked those photos. I have no idea what Amber Heard did. But Nicole Brown Simpson didn't fake those photos of her bruised and bloody face. And there wasn't even a suggestion otherwise. And I'll never forget you saying to the jury about her will. And you were saying, who does that at her age? Who goes and does a last will and testament and puts it in a safe box in the bank with her bruised face photos? Like, she's trying to tell us something from the grave.
Yeah, exactly right. And as a matter of fact, we have now changed the rules of evidence to allow for the admission of these kinds of statements that are, I know he's going to kill me, or writings that are, in a journal. I know he's going to do this. She had written quite a few things in her journal about the abuse that she suffered and about her belief that he was going to kill her. She was aware of it. Denise was aware of it. Now we do get that kind of information before the jury. But yeah, I mean, it was a very telling thing. It was very clear to me she was writing her own epitaph.
My God. One of the unfortunate pieces of the trial, and you made a reference to it earlier, was the judge. Judge Lance Ito was a disaster pretty much on every front. I mean, he became a national laughingstock afterward for good reason. And one of the things that was rather irritating, I mean, it wasn't his main failure. We'll talk about his main failure, but one of the things that was very irritating about Judge Ito was his treatment of you versus his treatment of all the other lawyers in the courtroom who happened to be male. And I'm not somebody who's constantly waving the feminism card, and you are never somebody to play the victim. I've read and seen your interviews for years now, but there's no question that he was a prick to you. And without evidence of what the other reason was, I think he was a misogynist.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Well said, Megyn. I have to say it was a remarkable thing. It kind of made me laugh because bigger fish to fry, right? I mean, really, we have two victims here. But it was one of those ridiculous and very obvious things. Mr. Cochran, Mr. Darden, Marcia. What? Wait, what?
Gross.
And the remarks about my hair and skirts and whatever. It was a horrible, example of a male on the bench. There are so many good judges, and there were, I was really hoping to get one of them. And it was unfortunate that we wound up, and this is the hard part, what we call lay paper, when you peremptorily challenge a judge, you only get one. And there were others who could have been worse. So when Bill and I talked about, well, what do we do? Do we accept Lance Ito or not? He said, well, I think he's okay. And he had Lance on his case against Keating. Well, Bill's a man. Keating was kind of the devil. It was not the same case, not the same situation as the Simpson trial. So there was that. But really far and away, what was worse to me was the manner in which he ran the courtroom, which is to say he did not. He handed the reins to Johnny Cochran, and Johnny ran with it, which is why when people say, aren't you angry with the defense and the way Johnny ran the case? I said, no, I'm not. The defense will always take advantage to the greatest extent possible. They're representing their client. And if you have a judge who's inclined to let the defense rewrite the rules of evidence and the rules of trial procedure, you're screwed because the judge is the final arbiter. He had the power to prevent it. He didn't. Not only did he not, but he encouraged it. And he made some of the most outrageous rulings I had ever seen. Eventually, I did call him on it at the very end when he was going to allow the defense to comment outrageously on Mark Furman's taking the fifth, which is a known thing you're not allowed to do. It has been established. This is what we call Hornbook law from centuries ago. You do not get to comment on someone who invokes his Fifth Amendment right, because you could do that and say, hey, he invoked his right to remain silent. Doesn't that make him sound guilty? Then why have a Fifth Amendment at all? So they were going to allow them to capitalize on his invoking the Fifth, and before the jury questioned him about it, and said, this is just too outrageous. It doesn't matter anymore. The case is lost, but I can't stand it. This is your final bad ruling. And I took it up on a writ immediately, which he tried to prevent and tried to deny us the time. And at which point I said, you're denying the people the right to a fair trial. He eventually capitulated. And the Court of Appeal wrote back immediately and said, you will not allow this. You will stop this trial, because Johnny kept extending and extending and saying, we'll never rest, we'll never rest. No other judge would put up with that nonsense. Look, most judges would never have allowed race to be made a part of the case to begin with, because it had nothing to do with this trial. He didn't kill her because she was white. It had nothing to do with anything. And yet they were allowed to completely subvert justice by bringing in an issue that had nothing to do with the evidence, nothing to do with the motives or the real parties involved. So it was the worst possible situation, because he himself was, as they say, a starfucker. And so he was much more wedded to the side of the case that was famous. And it was a bizarre thing to watch a judge abdicate completely his role as the captain of the ship.
Yeah, and the neutral arbiter, calling balls and strikes and not keeping the thumb on the scale. Before we get to him and the race ruling, because that was critical. Just a moment on you and your experience before him. You think back on how sexist we were, and just openly sexist, judging your looks at every turn. The CNN nonstop coverage, Fox News was around, MSNBC had just launched, like all these 24/7 cable channels, at CNN and Court TV in particular, went wall to wall with it. Huge numbers, right? That's, of course, what you're going to do. You get huge numbers. Made stars out of people like Greta Van Susteren, Geraldo, my pal Dan Abrams was covering. A lot of lawyers up and coming became stars as a result of this. Jeffrey Toobin, that's where we first started really hearing about him. Anyway, so your hair, it went from curly to straight. Right? I'm trying to think. It went from straight to curly, right? That's in the middle of the trial.
No, curly to straight.
Okay, guys, I get it confused, but it caused a thing. It caused a thing, and I think we have a clip from again, this is Sarah Paulson portraying you in the People versus OJ. Yeah, here's a little soundbite reenacting what happened. Soundbite 6. You're walking in, curly.
Good morning, Miss Clark. I think.
So annoying. So that's Judge Ito choosing to sort of mock. I mean, he was obviously trying to mock your hair, like you're unrecognizable, and not in a fun, playful way, just in a, look at you, snarky. I think it's you. Yeah, snarky. While all the defense lawyers are staring at you. It must have felt terrible.
It was ridiculous. That's really what I felt. It was one of those, actually, they kind of flipped it in that clip you saw. What really happened was I had 2 little kids in diapers. I decided to do a perm because I wanted to wash and wear hair. I didn't want to have to blow it out. I didn't want to be bothered. And then it grew out. The perm grew out. and the media coordinator at the DA's office said, you need to get your hair cut. And my hairdresser said, stop with the perm already. You have straight hair. Stop perming it. And I said, I can't stop now. All I want to do is make it easy to deal with. He said, okay, then I'm going to cut it. So it got shorter. But the change came, and he made the remark that he did, because at some point I didn't have time to go to the hairdresser to re-perm my hair. It's growing out. It's naturally straight. I had no choice but to then blow it out and just let it be straight, because I couldn't go back and get another perm. So I go into court thinking, no one will notice.
And who cares? Like, what judge?
And who cares? Yes.
Yeah. Who takes cares? The time.
And then that.
In the middle of a double murder trial. I mean, I will say for our listening audience, because we're airing live on Sirius XM Triumph channel right now, Marcia looks amazing. She's got, her hair is long and it's beautiful and it's straight right now. And it is impossible that you're 68 years old. It is impossible. I don't know what you've done, what kind of magic juice you're drinking, but I want it. I want it tomorrow. We'll talk later. So in any event, that was just one example. But I do want to mention this, because you became a hero to a lot of working moms, single moms. You're going through a nasty divorce, custody dispute. Your husband ratchets it up while he sees you on trial, in the most stressful trial of your life, of any prosecutor's life ever. So he wasn't being very kind to you. You did not want to lose custody of your 2 young boys. And you had told Judge Ito at the beginning of the trial, this is what time I can work until. I'm a single mom. I work very hard, but this is what time I need the trial to wrap. I was like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And one day he was going to let it go late into the evening. And here again is, this is the actual you, I think, right? I'm asking my producers. Yeah, this is the actual you, because Johnny Cochran later convinced you, because you went to him and you're like, I'm leaving at 4 as we agreed. And he's like, okay. And then Johnny Cochran accused you of using your children as an excuse the next week. He didn't like how the ruling had worked out, and he thought you were manipulating the court. And boom, here's Marcia Clark, soundbite 5.
I'm offended as a woman, as a single parent, and as a prosecutor and an officer of the court to hear an argument posed by counsel like that, Mr. Cochran, today. Some of us have childcare issues, and they are serious, and they are paramount. Obviously, Mr. Cochran cannot understand that, but he should not come before this court and impugn the integrity of someone who does have those considerations. And I'm deeply offended.
That is ballsy in 1994-95. That was a ballsy thing to do.
You know, I mean, I think I was just so pissed off, Megyn. I didn't. There were moments during that trial when I said things that I really meant, and you know, which
figure.
is rare. You know, on a personal level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, that sounded so bad. Please
No, I know what you
cut
mean.
that. It's a bad soundbite. But what
totally
I meant
get it.
is, you don't talk about yourself on a personal level when you're in court. In terms of how you feel about the case. You talk about it legally speaking. I think he's guilty. I think the evidence shows this. I think this is irrelevant or this is relevant. But to have to talk about yourself on a personal level is a rather uncomfortable thing. And I was never in the position to have to do that before. So I was kind of angry on both levels. Why are you doing this to me? And why that I should even be talking about myself as a person in this context when we have 2 dead victims is outrageous.
Samantha from Arcadia, California is raving about Genucel's transformative results. She says, I love Genucel plant stem cell therapy. I've used it all over my face, under my eyes, and it cleared up the dry flakiness and even reduced my forehead lines. Someone even asked if I had work done. Nope, just Genucel. Genucel has sold over 1 million products to women and men across this country. Fine lines, forehead wrinkles, dark spots, sagging jawlines, and even those annoying bags and puffiness gone without risky procedures. Think of it. And with its immediate effects product, there are guaranteed results in as little as 12 hours or your money back. Now, during Genucel's summer blowout, every most popular package, which is all their best products, is over 65% off. Plus, you will get a complimentary gift set with your order. Go to Genucel.com/MK60. Genucel.com/MK60. Order today and get their summer essential, the dark spot corrector, absolutely free. Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.